Welcome back to another episode of the RacePlazaMedia podcast. My name is Milan.
My name is Pia.
And I know I'm sitting. What is going on? So this weekend we had the second race of the season for Formula One. It was also the first sprint race of the season. And we both watched that.
I know, surprise, surprise. Not only did we watch that, we also watched both of the races of F1 Academy, which we'll get into later. And I watched a little bit of World Rally Championship, the Rally Kenya, and you attempted to watch the 4-hour race at the Nürburgring.
Correct.
But we'll tell you later what happened there.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So first things first, so we had China, so back-to-back weekends, and then we're off now we're going to be off for several weeks because they did announce that the next two Grand Prix are currently cancelled.
Actually, we have Japan first coming up.
That's true.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, and then we have...
And then we have a little bit of a longer break because of all the things that are happening in the world, or especially in that region of the world. We have 2 races that have unfortunately been canceled.
So there is talks online that maybe they will try to do them at a different time of the year, but I don't know how that would work logistically. Yeah. I don't know if there's a bigger break sometime later in the year. And it's also, I think, isn't there a reason we're doing races earlier in this year due to temperature? Isn't that also a thing?
I thought so also. I mean, I know they had moved the order around this year also because of Ramadan, which we experienced last year, which obviously Ramadan is every year, but they rescheduled the races to be to go align with Ramadan a little bit better, or to be after Ramadan. But yeah, so I guess we'll see. I doubt it that we'll have the races scheduled later in the year just because of logistics and the scheduling. Just the schedule already is packed. I mean, there's so many races in the year, so I don't know how. And I mean, obviously, we would have to wait and see how whatever happens in that area of the world anyways, how long things will last, what the effects are, and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've also heard that there were talks about replacement GPs in other locations, but I think either way, to find the date and the logistics of it, I think will be difficult. Last year, the closest thing we had to that was we had a rescheduled Formula One Academy race, but that is a little bit easier to squeeze in because it's a 20-minute race, right? That you're just doing extra on a weekend compared to doing like a whole... Like
setting up a full F1 race
GP,
weekend.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's obviously also like costs and stuff like that. So we're going to keep an eye out on it. Yeah. I would be surprised if they would find a way to fill it in. But I guess we'll see. I mean, 2 years ago, we didn't have the race in Interlago, right? No, not Interlago. In Imola due to the rain.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is not something that doesn't happen, but of course 2 races back to back. I've had also actually read online that after that longer break, Ferrari is planning on bringing major upgrades already, and people are kind of like, maybe this will work out in Ferrari's favor. The longer break will give them more time to develop. Yeah. Obviously, this will also give Mercedes more time to...
Oh, all the teams, really.
Yeah, but like Mercedes is the one we're hunting down, right?
For sure.
We're not really... I mean, of course, the point is not to regress, but right now it's kind of hard to tell which other teams are at least on Ferrari's speed due to this weekend we had so many technical difficulties for racers. A lot of DNSs and DNFs.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into the sprint race, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, well, okay, yeah. So the sprint race we ended up actually watching together, which was a lot of fun.
That was Friday night for us.
Yeah, exactly.
8 o'clock.
So that was... it was 8 o'clock. Yeah, it was like prime time almost, you know, so it was really nice. Of course, going into the weekend, there were some expectations. High expectations, I would say, of Mercedes, of course, based on last week's performance. It was also high expectations of Ferrari based on the performance, but also because of Lewis Hamilton's history at the Chinese Grand Prix. I mean, last year he won the sprint, his only podium with Ferrari thus far, podium, so far. So that was, of course, there's hope that the track will...
And he's, in general, he does very well in Shanghai. I mean, he's 6 wins, I think.
Exactly, I think he has like lots and lots of wins under his belt there. And I mean, I was so excited. I was so excited just that we have back-to-back races, MotoGP.
Yeah.
not looking at you, you know?
Yeah.
So I was very excited just because there's so many open questions still. I mean, of course, we got a little bit of an inkling last weekend of how the season potentially could go.
Yes.
What the standings are in the teams, or the teams compared to each other are. But of course, it's a brand new season with a new regulation, new cars, a new team on the grid. So there's still lots and lots of ups. So I was very excited to see what will happen this weekend. And then, like you've been hinting at, lots happened.
Yes. So the sprint race, I think like the big thing is, I mean, we had, what is it, 2 people who didn't start? So Nico didn't start, I think, and Valtteri, and then I don't know, Lindblad. Does that mean 12 is the amount of laps they did it?
No, I thought 19 was the...
Yeah, so they did 12. So
yes.
Nico and Valtteri, same...
They completed 12 laps
exactly.
each. And then Arvind Lindblad, I always want to add an L in his first name, but not the last name. So Arvid Lindblad DNF'd in lap 11.
Yeah. So I think the big thing I wanted to talk about is, of course, we had, again, fantastic battle in the front during the start. So the Ferraris, once again, were kind of able to get the jump on the Mercedes. Lewis actually made it all the way to P1, and he was battling George there for a hot moment. But he did end up burning through his tire quite a bit. And then Antonelli really struggled with his start again, which was a bummer. He dropped back immediately a few positions. I mean, he was able to make a lot of them back up, but that does hurt.
Yes.
And then you also had Charles, who was kind of sitting back and just watching Lewis and George fight for a bit, and then he stepped in and he was able to overtake Charles. At some point, we did have actually Kimi Antonelli back in second. However, he did receive a 10-second penalty for the contact that he had with, was it Lindblad?
Was it Lindblad that he had to? I honestly, right now, I'm completely blanking on the sprint race.
I know that, well, he got a penalty for something.
Yes.
He got a penalty for something. I can't remember exactly what it was. And so that ended up pushing him all the way back to 5th place at the end, because otherwise, like, timing-wise, he did finish in second.
Yeah.
Which is cool that we got the 2 Ferraris back on the podium. And then also, this is the one thing that I think is so interesting. We have Lando in 4th and then Oscar in 6th. And it's just so interesting. We were all talking about the McLaren last year. And this year, we just, like, I hear very little talk.
Yes. I mean, there's been so little part of the conversation as of right now, which is a little sad almost. I mean, we have the reigning world champion on the grid, and he's not being part of the conversation just because he's not part of the front at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still lots of races to come, so we'll see what will...
We have 20 races left, right?
So we'll see what happens, but it's so strange.
It feels a little bit odd to not talk about the McLarens.
Yes.
Because for the last 2 years, they were very much in the conversation. Yes. And then last year, of course, we had 2 of them battling for the championship, and then one of them obviously also winning it. It is very odd. You just hear so little. And I mean, I'm sure that I'm in some type of bubble that I get on my feed. I've been getting, like, obviously a lot of Ferrari stuff. I get a lot of Mercedes stuff. I get a little bit of the Red Bull stuff. But I think I also just in general get people who are just, like, a little bit more vocal.
Yeah.
Not that Lando and Oscar haven't been, but I just feel like they've been just, like,
kind of flying under the radar.
Yeah, and I get that we're saying this in the second race of the season,
which is such
it's such a dramatic
thing, it's also
so
I feel like of myself, it's so hypocritical because I always complain when the commentators are like, oh it's like they're taking the lead. Oh, this is going to be how the season goes, kind of.
Yes, but we're not sensationalizing. We're just pointing out that nothing is happening.
No,
so this is our I think our defense.
But yeah, I mean, I think overall the sprint was fine. Obviously, later in that day, we had the qualifying for the main race, which was something neither of us watched, but we watched the highlights, both of us. But I was so looking forward to the main race.
Yes.
Just because of the impeding battle of Mercedes versus Ferrari that's going on right now. And it's so interesting because in a way, obviously Ferrari is like our heart team, you know, but we still have a big connection with Mercedes, I would say, just because of where we grew up and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting that like our teams are battling right now, but it's been such fun battling. I mean, go ahead.
No. Finish your.
No, I was just gonna immediately jump into the main race.
Oh, okay.
So did you want to say anything else before?
I just want to say, like, it is so interesting about the discourse that is online about the new regulations, right? Because you have drivers out there who are like, doesn't feel like racing anymore. This feels like Formula E on steroids and stuff like that. I think it is like this in between. Like, of course, we're seeing a lot of like technical DNFs or DNSs. Like, we had 4 cars not start. Both of the McLarens didn't start.
Yeah.
Then, what is it? Gabriel didn't start, and then Albon didn't start, and then some other cars DNF during the race.
Yeah.
Some of them of their own fault, and some of it was just like, oh no, there were spins, but there was no DNFs because someone hit someone else.
No, exactly. But, it was just car issues.
It is so interesting, but then. On the other hand, I think a lot of people would agree that we had some of the best on-track action this race. Of course, it was between the 2 Ferraris, right? But this was an insane fun battle to watch. And I think part of this also is that because you get a little bit of this yo-yo effect.
Yes.
Because of like the battery and stuff like that, and the recharge and all the boosts you get and yada, yada, yada. But the battle between Lewis and Charles during the race was just like the best racing action I feel like we've had on track in a hot minute.
It was so much fun. But also looking back at Australia, we had Charles versus George and also, of course, versus Lewis, but like back to back, like somebody takes the first one and they're going to try to take it back again. Of course, they're using the battery, the overtake if they can, using the boost. Like figuring out the ways to use the car since it's still newer. Yeah. Figuring out the placement on the track, but that makes it so fun. And then also I do enjoy the yo-yo effect because you have to be smart about it. You have to, because you only have one overtaking sensor spot. So if you're within the second, then that's great for you. But then of course, if the person you've been yo-yoing with gets the boost, that is their advantage or the overtake for the whole entire lap to come, which is like such a newer strategy thing that we have to now take, or they, not us as much, have to take into consideration. So I was so looking forward to it. Australia already got me excited, but I think, the race last night was just bonkers. We didn't watch the race together.
No, I watched it live.
You watched it live. I had to go to sleep.
Yes.
So I got up early to watch it before going to work because I was like, that's lifestyle wise, it's easier for me to get up early and watch the race
and
versus
for me it's the other way around,
staying up late. Exactly. So we ended up, our agreement was I went to bed and then you were like, I'll text you to let you know if it's worth watching the full race.
Also, a little bit in your defense, you had to get up early for work, right? So I think maybe you could have attempted it. I knowing you, I think you would have had a hard time staying up probably because it did run until like almost like 1:40.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had essentially the agreement. I would watch the race and then I would text you letting you know whether or not I would recommend watching the full race or if you watch just like the 30-minute highlight that they post like on F1, the TV app. Yeah. And what text did you get from me this morning?
I would recommend watching the whole race. And I was like, okay, I'm excited because I had just gotten up just a little bit after 6 to then look at the phone. And so I ended up getting up to watch the race, and boy, oh boy, was it worth it. I mean, it was just so fun. I mean, going into it, of course, we had the youngest pole sitter ever with Kimi Antonelli sitting in the front, which was already big. I mean, you've been converted ever since, I mean, now a while now, essentially, like a year and a half, probably.
Hey. I endorsed Kimi Antonelli before he was officially signed by Mercedes.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like,
I just want to set the record straight.
Yes. But so you've been like, and I mean, like, not that I doubted you. I believe in Kimi. And I've been saying that he'll get his, I mean, I agree with you that he was going to get his first win sometime this season. Yes. And then 2, I did also believe that he has the potential to potentially get the world championship this year. I mean, I understand that George Russell is a big opposing
factor. There's a big obstacle.
No, of course, and I 100% understand that. But at the rate that he's been progressing and how well he's doing, I definitely do think it's possible. I think George has higher chances the way we are at this very second. But I do still think that there's an opportunity there for Kimi. But yes.
I will say, okay, so before we get into all of this is a really interesting thought process. So imagine this, right? I don't know. So we're imagining all of this without me knowing the contract specifics for each driver, right? But if Kimi would win the drivers' championship, right? Yeah. Then you don't have any other choice but then to replace Russell with with Max. with George, you replace him with himself, right? Yes. So Toto obviously still out there trying to get Max, right? I think the big thing is also with Max, I think also comfort. I think he likes Red Bull and he likes being with them, and I think he's also this type of person, almost he strikes me kind of like Messi, who the football player, like he would, if it was for him, he would stay with like one team until maybe the end of his career. I think, I mean, the same way, like I think Lewis probably originally wasn't planning on going to Ferrari, but then, you know, the disagreement with Mercedes, what he wanted and what they were offering. But it is very much this thing where it's like, I mean, it's like, because Toto said that he regretted, his biggest regret is not being able to sign Max, right? Red Bull were able to get a hands on him, and this is why also the huge push with Kimi, right? It was like, we're gonna grab him before anyone else can grab him, because it is very interesting that Ferrari never tried to do this, but I don't think Ferrari has someone like Toto who's like this hyper aggressive.
I thought Ferrari was in a conversation also trying to get him.
But Kimi. I don't think they were like as prompt, because I think Toto was very much like, listen, you'll skip, we'll put you in F2, and then he immediately promoted him, right? I don't think Ferrari would have done that. I think
not
Ferrari
so
would have give him they would have not been this aggressive, right? But all long story short, if you have this guy, even if let's say he doesn't win it, right? If you have this guy who is in his second year at 19 years old, fighting for a championship, right? Potentially maybe winning it, right? Would you not give up the other guy to get Max Verstappen?
Well, probably, especially if the other guy is not putting up his own and beating the new kid.
No, yeah, but even if George would win it, right? If you think about it, George wins it, but if because Kimi is in his second year, Piastri didn't really give Lando a run for his money in his third year, and that was last year, where he was a contender, right? And so it's this thing. It's like, well, yes, George is in his prime, but you have a guy who's not in his prime already giving him almost a run for his money. Yeah. So imagine where you could take him, right? This is obviously all super speculative, and it doesn't help that I speak for myself, that I'm a much bigger Kimi fan than I'm a George fan. And this is not to take away from George, but we'll get into something that George did later. A few drivers do. We'll talk about this later.
Yeah,
you know exactly what I'm talking about. That is something that really fucks me off. Yeah. But it is very much this thought process is like very, very interesting. Yeah. I think what will happen, because like Max is super unhappy.
So unhappy. I mean, let's just talk about it. I mean, the Red Bulls just didn't have a good weekend. No. At all. I mean, Max unfortunately didn't finish the race. He had some kind of car trouble, which is also so unfortunate because he completed almost the full race. I mean, he went down in
he lost 8 position
with 10 laps to go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So he had some engine trouble. You could hear it when they were playing the replay. He was in the corner, like full speed, and then when he was trying to accelerate out of the corner, it's just suddenly there was no power there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you'll retire the car." Yes. And it's just, I mean, it's like. And then again during the start, he didn't have any power. He lost 8 positions. Yes, which doesn't stop him necessarily, but with the car that he has to do so much extra work. Like he can make it through certain teams essentially, but then it's not quite there to make it to a podium.
Well, it's also this thing, it's not like how the previous Red Bull was, where it's like, okay, passing you or passing 10 cars or whatever in like 10 laps or something is like
Easy.
And I think this also goes back to a discourse that I've been seeing online a lot, where people are bringing up this thing. It's like, well, I thought everyone said that Max would be able to take a tractor to the front, right? He could, like Helmut Marko famously said, right, that Max could take a midfield car and win races with this. And this just goes to show, like, Max is an exceptional and sensational racer, right? But in the end, you do need a car that can compete.
Well,
right?
Especially at the level that Formula One is competing at nowadays. I mean, we saw it last season at the end of last regulation. I mean, just qualifying was like thousands of a second.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the car for it, even if you're the best driver on the grid, you won't be able to compete because, I mean, you're in Formula One usually when you're one of the top drivers in the world,
Yes, absolutely.
Especially single seat, like that style of driving,
If you would put all of them in a car, of course there will be differences, but they're not going to be off like 2 seconds from each other. No. They're going to be all within, like, I would say, like a few tenths of each other.
I mean, because they're also, they know the track by heart, of course. Like, they know how to drive it. They prepare. They work so hard for it. And then, I mean, like I said, it's so close nowadays, which is so incredibly impressive, but that makes it also just so hard.
So I mean, it's not close anymore.
Well, no,
it used to be close,
but like, I mean, the skill level is still very much it's so close. So if they were in the same vehicle, who knows what would happen. But so Red Bull, unfortunately not great this season so far. I mean, Isaac had another big spin in there. Also, he had a poor start. He almost took out Ollie Behrman, which was really, really scary. I mean, reflexes on all those guys for sure, but you could really see it with Ollie Behrman when he was very quickly evading Isaac Hadjar, who spun out directly in front of him.
It's like mid-corner too.
Yeah, so it was really, really scary. But I mean, I just want to talk about it. The Ferrari battling on the grid was just so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, constantly back and forth, really aggressive, but really fair, really clean. I mean, Hamilton did admit there was like maybe like a small little kiss, he called it, which I think is fine. I mean, we heard, and that's what I loved about it too. Like, we heard the radio. Charles was like, "Oh, this was so much fun battling." Lewis talking about how this is the most fun he's had in a long time, if not ever, on track with all the battling and stuff. I mean, obviously it helps that they have a decent car under them now. It's missing some pace, especially in the straights, but it's so much more drivable. In the corners, it's so incredibly fast. But then, I mean, you had also pointed it out over the radio when they were battling, or not over the radio, the commentators. Like, I love David Coulthard.
And Jolyon Palmer, I like all of these guys, but sometimes I'm like, what are you even saying, dude? You're upset that the Ferraris battling each other? What do you want to just stop them? Because if the Ferraris would have not battled, the best part of the race would have missed, we would have missed that. And in the end, it's like, you're going to tell a guy like Charles, right, who's desperately trying to win more races and win a championship with Ferrari, right? Stop racing. And then you're going to tell the guy who has won the most ever, you're going to tell him, stop racing your teammate. Because in the end, you're not going to fucking do that. It's ridiculous. And it's also like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. And it's like, and we've had a few people on the radio sometimes where it's like, they complain if another racer races them. Like, what is going on here? Like, I think we had it with George last week. He was like, oh, what Charles was doing was dangerous. It's like, bro.
It's racing.
You're racing him. And the thing you have to say about Charles is, like, Charles is very much someone who can go wheel to wheel with someone. We saw it, right?
Yeah.
People famously say in the 2022 season, especially the beginning when the Ferrari was still competitive, right? The battles between him and Max were fantastic to watch. I remember the opening race.
Sorry, my heart just dropped because you said, oh, in the 2022 season when the Ferrari was still good at the beginning. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope that's not like this right now.
Well, there it was also that they had a part of the engine and that was then, I think, considered illegal. And then then I think they had huge reliability issues. So which I'm hoping this was also under Clown Binotto. So I have a lot of faith in Vasseur.
Yeah.
I'm off the deep end and it's been working really well for me. It's
no,
been very good
of course.
therapy for
but
me.
I was just like, as soon as you said it, my heart literally like.
No, I don't have these dark thoughts.
I was like, because I hadn't even thought about that because I'm like, we're riding on a high right now.
No, and it's like Charles knows how to race and Lewis also knows how to race really, really tight. And it was so tight, but it's like these are the best drivers in the world, right? They are able to do that, right? And then so many times, I think the last race, Australia, Liam Lawson was upset that Checo was racing him for 16th place. And here's the thing. I do think there's two type of people. Either people who are like, I'm going to battle for every single position. Like it's the most important thing in my life.
Yeah.
And then also the other people who are like, well, I don't care if I'm not getting any points, right? But in the end, first of all, you have Checo, who has been out of a car for 2 years. He wants to just get out and race. And also, this is all also important data that you're collecting for the team,
100%.
right? Especially for Cadillac. But it's also, dude, don't get upset if someone is racing you. If you don't want to race him, then don't try to overtake or just let him pass, right?
Well, but it's also like, yes, I understand Ferrari. They're both on the same team, Lewis and Charles, but they're still individual drivers competing for the driver championship. And all the points matter. And as long as they race against each other clean and fair, and they don't bump into each other or forcefully do anything malicious against each other, which you shouldn't do any malicious things against others.
Unless you watch the F1 movie and you're like, I'm taking inspiration from that.
Exactly. But so it's like, let them race. That's what they're there for. That's what race. It's literally called racing.
But it is this thing. It's like, listen, if they would have crashed into each other, right? I know that what is it, Lewis and Nico, they had this whole situation where they took each other out and they prevented the 1-2, and all of that obviously also counts towards the constructors championship. But in the end, if this is not happening, right, they're racing fine, dude, then let people race. And but also, like, once again, Liam Lawson is not on the same team as Checo, right? It is like, if you don't want to be raced, then either don't be a race driver or let the other guy go, right?
No,
don't get upset if someone is defending against you. And dude, like, sometimes I'm just like, they immediately jump on the radio and then they complain. I was like, bro, then don't race.
Don't compete. Then stay home.
It's like, oh, I think this person, like, I think Charles got on the radio and he was saying like, oh, I think Lewis is struggling. Well, it's like, mate, if you're faster, then pass. And I get that it's difficult, but you're a Formula One driver, right? That's literally your job.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm like, guys.
Yeah.
Like, put on your big boy pants,
I know, like, I get it. I have an inkling of an understanding that, like, I'm sure it can be frustrating when you're stuck behind somebody.
Yeah, of course.
And, like, I understand that frustration when you also believe that you have more pace, but then you also have to have the pace to pass them.
Yeah.
Because if maybe, I don't know, this might not be correct, but if you don't have the pace to pass them, do you have the pace to pass somebody who's then already faster than you,
No, you don't.
So I'm like, yeah. But so it was like, I mean, the battling was just beautiful. I love that both of the Ferrari drivers were like, this was so much fun because it's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
It's supposed to be intense, obviously, and it's high stakes and it's fast but that's what the great thing is about the sport. So it's been really fun to watch it.
Yes, and two more things I want to say about this before we're gonna go maybe talk about other parts of the race. But I wanted to also say, right, excuse me, that people are saying like it's good to see Lewis back, right? He clearly gets along with this car much better, right? He also sounds on the radio and his post-race interviews. He's talking about how like it's a great platform to also grow from. They're obviously not quite there yet.
Yeah.
I do think this is also a huge impact is that Ferrari compromised on the turbo and all this stuff, right, for the start, right? And they have a smaller engine. So it's a little bit frustrating that they then are still pushing for the starting procedure to be changed, right? They already implemented this 5 second, and Ferrari also said like, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
But it is this thing, it's like, guys, like we've talked about this, right? Like Fred said last year already, this is going to be a thing. Are we all okay with this, right? And then it's like, you can't punish them then like to make these changes. But sorry, all of this
I did want to say something about the start, unless you're...
No, I wanted to finish back and then go back to the start.
Oh,
I wanted to
okay.
finish what I was saying about Lewis, right? But it's also like, this is a 40-year-old man, right? That is... and then I get that Charles, this is not his favorite track, and this is definitely a track that Lewis loves. But it's like, dude, this is prime Leclerc, right? That got beat by not prime Lewis, right? And it just shows, and I think they also said this as the commentators, right? That like Lewis not being in his prime does not make him not dangerous, right?
Yes.
This is someone who has won the most races in the ever, right? Who has won 7 world championships, right? You don't win these things. Yeah, of course you had the car for it, but you don't win these just, by being okay.
Yes.
You know, you're winning this by being a shark, right?
No, 100%. But going back to the start now, which I thought about it, and I don't think I mentioned it last time, but I know now, of course, they do their formation lap, they get into position, get the green flag, and then the blue light comes on. You have those 5 seconds, as you said, and then the lights come on. The 5 seconds, that little interlude kind of gets me so excited because because all the revs come up. What are you laughing about?
It's like you put on LED lights and you're like, oh,
no. It's not the lights, it's the sound.
I know, but it just sounded like that. You're like, oh, look at these beautiful lights.
No, it's like when they get into position, it's still quite quiet. The green flag and then the blue thing comes on, and it suddenly is like, all of them, and like it's like not always at the same time, and you hear it like it's like an orchestra or a choir, and it all comes up, and you're like, oh, it's about to happen, and it's like bing, bing, bing. Obviously you still have the starting thingy, but there's something really fun about that 5 seconds where you have just this anticipation growing even more. So I think it's, in a way, for me personally, it works in terms of suspense.
Yeah.
And then also for this race, of course, like we had Kimi in pole positions, like we said, but then he's been so bad at starts. So I was like, oh my gosh, I hope he does well, because I mean, of course, as big as Ferrari fans as we are, I'm still rooting also for Kimi, that he has, because I believe also one day for sure he will be a champion, potentially multiple time champion, who knows? But he's so much potential. And of course, also last year, he had lots of ups and downs. He had like this middle section throughout the year where things weren't quite as well and people were shit-talking him. And
yeah, I think this is very much this flaw that F1 has in general. It's like this recency bias. And it's like, well, he had 3 technical DNFs. What is he going to do about it, right? One time he got hit by Hajar, and then 2 times his car broke down. And people are saying, well, he hasn't scored points in 3 races. And it's like, well, yeah. It's like if the car don't work, right?
I'm completely agreeing with you.
No, I'm just saying no one be talking shit about my boy.
But that's what I'm saying, because it was just so. And also after his qualifying, he was talking about like, yes, obviously this is great, but I have the race ahead of me first, which is of course understandable. But then, I'm sure if you're listening to this, most of you guys have watched the race, and we all know Kimi ended up winning.
Yes,
which was so great.
Yeah, he had a really good start. He did get passed by Lewis.
Yes.
And Lewis and him had a fight because he mostly focused on keeping George behind, which everyone agreed also in the end was really what helped him win, because like whoever was able to get kind of to the front was able to...
which is interesting because I didn't even think about it in that way. Because at first I was like, oh, interesting that he's mostly blocking off George, because I would have thought maybe they would work together to keep the Ferraris behind. But then on the other hand, I understand now what you're saying is that George is his biggest competition right now. So he needed to keep him behind, keep him busy, hopefully also have the Ferraris keep him busy so that he can drive away, which is what ended up happening. And
then Kimi also knew from the sprint race that he is able to pass the Ferraris on track, right? He did that yesterday. So he knew, and then obviously this time around he also had way more time to pass them compared to yesterday. So it is very much this thing where it's like, I think he did the right thing. Then Lewis and him had a really cool battle. And then there was in general a bunch of back and forth, and then we ended up having so I think a lot of drivers wanted to do a little bit of a later one stop, but a lot of them went for the one stop. I think the most insane one stop was Carlos Sainz, who pitted after lap 9, put on the hards, and then just sent it all the way home. He did also, so first of all, really awesome, Carlos finishing in 9th, right? Albon, homeboy, he didn't even get to start the race. If you want to hear a really sad statistic, Oscar Piastri hasn't participated in a main race this year, right? He's only done a sprint race, and then both McLarens had issues with their power unit.
Yes.
Different
issues, yes.
But both of them weren't able to start the main Grand Prix. So Oscar has only been able to participate in the sprint race. That's the only racing he was able to do.
That's so sad. It didn't even click until now, because I thought about it this morning. I was like, oh, I still have him in my fantasy with like double points.
I know. I saw a few people in our league who have him on double points, and I was like, suck it.
That sucks.
I have Lewis on double points. It would make more sense to give it to Kimi.
Yeah.
But I'm going for the heart. I'm not going for the points. It doesn't matter if it's all irrelevant anyways.
Yeah.
But anyways, so huge shout out to Carlos for doing that. And he also said like one of the big things is like the car is nowhere where we need it to be, but everything else we optimized as much as we could. And that was also the strategy, like taking those hearts all the way. Essentially, what is it? He did, 47 laps on those? That's crazy. But I mean, they don't have as much degradation. He was probably also racing pretty conservatively. But that was really, really kind of cool that happened. That we have the Williams.
So happy, because they've been having such a shitty start to the season after having such a great ending last year.
And it's also like, this is where you have to really maximize on those points, because we had the two McLarens who are not racing. They would have probably taken up those 2 spots in the top 10. I think that's fair to assume.
We only had 15 drivers finish.
Yes.
Out of 22.
Yes.
Which I was also thinking about.
And only 18 started, right?
Yes. Yeah. But I was also wondering, I was like, I wonder when we will have the first race where everybody completes the race.
Yes.
That's going to be interesting to see how long that'll take. Because, I mean, also going into the weekend, Alonso was saying like, oh, yeah, he hoped that they get to at least finish the race, which, of course, unfortunately didn't happen.
For neither
of them, yeah. Which, on the other hand, makes me really happy for the Cadillacs. Like Sergio or Checo and Valtteri, both of them ended up finishing the race, which is great.
Oh, I have something to say about that in just a moment. We were talking about the start.
The Williams to start.
No, it doesn't matter. I'll remember it later. But what I was going to say, what I did like also in the post-race interview that we watched, Ocon took accountability for his incident that he had with Colapinto. He hit him. He tried to do an overtake or a move that wasn't on. And he also immediately apologized on the radio, right? And he also said in his post-race interview he was happy that Colapinto was still able to snatch up a point. Because obviously that's negatively impacted Colapinto. I wouldn't be surprised if he did also pick up a fair amount of damage, because the Haas looked cooked on the side. And then I also wanted to say that Checo also took accountability for making contact with Bottas.
Oh, okay. Because we didn't really get to see it.
Yeah, I don't recall. But the 2 Cadillacs, they got into contact, and I think
really early on.
I think it was also the same corner, which is, I think it is T2. I think it is. And it is also like, he was like, yeah, I was a little bit overly ambitious. And I also apologized to, like, I think Bottas also said they already talked, they settled it. And then Valtteri also Checo also apologized to the team and stuff like that. I was like, okay, listen, guys, this is what we want. Like, no one is saying that you're not going to make mistakes, because that's the whole point also of watching humans race, right? If I wanted to watch AI race, right, or computers who don't make any mistakes, then the human element
makes it so much more interesting.
What's making it interesting, right?
And also the level of human excellence that they're achieving, that they're getting there, but like the tiniest mistakes can have, of course, big impact. But
but it's this thing, it's like you thought there was a gap, and the gap is very difficult to take. I think this is also the same place where I think the Ferraris quote unquote kissed.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yes.
It is very much this thing where it's like, it looks like you have a gap, but the other car will come around for that. And most of the time you will not be alongside, right, to make that inside corner. So you will have to concede, and that's where like the contact happened.
Yeah.
But it is really refreshing to see people be like, listen, this was my bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then it's also like, by taking accountability, you're also like really reducing that doesn't have to be a big deal, right?
Yes.
Like if you be like, oh, it wasn't my fault, Colapinto should have checked his side view mirrors or whatever, right? Then you're making this into something that it's not, right?
Yeah.
And
it also, like, look at both of us. We're talking about it positively.
Yeah.
I think it's also, in a way, they get bonus points for me in personality wise for for admitting it.
Yeah.
Like, because it's obviously you don't want to make mistakes, and then admitting to mistakes can be hard for people. So for them to be like immediately like hands up, and especially like you said earlier, like there's a tendency often that they get on the radio and be like, oh, what is this fucker doing in my way, blah 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 blah, but immediately then like, hey, I'm sorry, which is good.
Or then after you look at the incident, you're like, okay, this was clearly on me, right? But I think we're very much live in this day and age. This is not just F1 races where it's like, God forbid I admit a mistake, right? God forbid I admit that I said something that was incorrect, or I've made a mistake or something like that. Like, people are so unwilling to admit to that, which is like, it's okay, dude,
Yeah.
If we say something wrong on here, like, oh, sorry, we have Cacti Tiger all the time telling us, like, I just learned that Jalik Swole is in his 7th season of 250 SX.
No way.
Yes.
I thought he said it was his 3rd season.
His 3rd season with Triumph. Oh. So I was under the impression the whole time he was in his 2nd season overall.
Gotcha.
So
no, the 3rd season makes sense to me because he was injured so much.
I had completely forgotten last season because I've watched very little of it.
Yeah, that's true. But I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're
but
also...
it's constantly these things, like, you're learning things, and it's okay to be like, oh, hey, thank you for telling me. But we're living once again in this place where people are like,
Yeah, but it's also, I think that's the whole idea behind. Not the idea behind, but this is what this podcast is about. We're not experts because we also watch a lot of different motorsports.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, so I am not an expert, but I have passion for this, and I love it, and I'm super interested in it. So if there's something wrong, please correct me.
We're still constantly learning. We're not advertising. We're experts. We're just racing fans. This is from fans for friends.
Literally what it is.
And friends. Fans and friends.
Friends and friends. But getting back to the race, I also want to give 2 more shout outs to different people. One is Ollie Behrman.
Okay, I thought you were going to say the person behind, right?
Okay, yeah, so those are both who I was going to talk about. So Ollie Behrman, I mean, he's been having a great season thus far in the Haas. It's
like 2nd race. He's been killing it.
What do you... Oh, I mean, fair. But it's just like, No,
like, he had 2 great races.
He's been doing well, and he also, I think he made a bigger mistake during this race, and he had to work his way through the pack. And was it this race or was it a sprint race?
No, this time around he had to avoid Hajar, and that ended up costing him.
Oh yes, exactly. But that was
it's like he went around left wise compared to right, which he said avoiding Hajar on the right would have been better, but I think it would have been more difficult because you're mid corner.
And there's also everybody else coming behind you.
Yes, and first of all, it is, but it's like to make it tighter all of a sudden, make a fast movement. It's probably easier to just go left if your car is already naturally like.
Yeah.
Understanding in that direction anyways, right? And then there you have the tarmac too.
No, yeah, exactly. But him, of course, so far, really, really great with his Haas and the Ferrari engine versus also doing an excellent job is Pierre Gasly in the Alpine with a Mercedes engine. So I thought it was really cool that those two were also battling for a little bit.
Yeah, this year for the first time, Alpine doesn't have their own engine.
Exactly.
Yeah, which has been working real well.
Oh my God, I'm so happy. I mean, we talked about it last season so much.
Alpine's in the top 10, dude.
Well, yeah, first of all, that excellent. I also call it Pinto second for a decent chunk of the race.
And the defensive driving he put
against
on.
Ocon,
it was so much fun to watch.
So much fun
because
to watch.
What is it? At some point, it was Oliver Behrman, and then was it Gasly with fresher tires? They were all bunched together, and they were kind of battling because they were trying to get through. And Ocon and Colapinto both decided not to pit during the lap 16 was the safety car. And so which car was
Lance.
It? Was Lance. Lance's car's just turned off, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing he could do.
But it's just so nice to see. I'm so happy for Pierre that he has a car, at least for now, that is working so well for him, that he's competing for points. Also Colapinto now, of course, because there has been a little bit of a gap between him and Pierre, at least for this first round.
Yeah, but also like last year. But it's also like I think Colapinto, him having that guaranteed contract for the year, just makes it a little bit easier.
It's a little bit less weight on the shoulders.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just so happy for Pierre. I mean, it's just so great for him. And also, I'm just excited that we have some different teams in a way battling a little bit. I mean, Alpine is now back battling with the midfield. Haas, it seems to be a little bit more consistent potentially in the midfield. Of course, we have the Racing Bulls in there. Hopefully, Williams will be rejoining to that part. But it's just really exciting, you know, and because we like most of the drivers on the grid, it just makes me happy when they have success.
I'm trying to think, who do I not like?
I mean, I guess the one person I feel indifferent about is Lance.
Oh yeah, that's
it's
true.
just because
even though I will say at his post-race interview, he was the most talkative I've seen him in a minute, and
Really?
I did like him in the intro. He has a cool part in the intro.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't watch his
helmet.
post-race interview, not for this one. I think for either qualifying or the sprint, he was like, yeah, you know, like that kind of thing. I don't have a connection to Lance, you know.
Yeah, it's tricky.
And then there's always this little bit of negative thing in my head that he's has a bot seat.
Yeah,
you know,
it's this thing is also like he's been a paid driver for a long time now. What is he also in his 8th season or something like that?
Yeah,
he's been here for a while, and it's just like comes very much with the sentiment where it's like, well, someone else would probably be more deserving of that seat, and it's also like you are being, I mean, of course it's not easy that Alonso is your teammate, right? He who is like probably psychological torture in a way, playing constantly games, right?
Yeah.
Like Alonso always there in 4D chess, right? Whereas Lance is probably like, I'm just interested in playing checkers, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to engage in this in a way, right?
Yeah.
But it is this thing where people are like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if someone would take the seat that is maybe a little bit more competitive and looks to be a little bit more passionate. I can't gauge whether or not Stroll is still passionate about it. He's still there.
Yeah.
So it's like clearly, because it's not an easy schedule,
No.
there must be some fun in it.
Yes.
And maybe he's also appreciating what a unique situation he is in, you know?
Well, and also maybe he just doesn't like the whole press stuff around
Which is
it.
fair.
He's just there for the racing, which I understand. Because even Fernando, in one of the, it was in one of the F1 YouTube videos, he was, I forgot what exactly it was. They were talking about like, oh, was this something that you would like to avoid, or like you've been trying to? And he's like, yeah, I've been trying to get out of this interview every year, but I'm still here.
Yes.
You know, it's like so funny because I
Yeah.
understand it, because it's not just racing. There's a lot more, of course, that goes into it. I mean, of course, but the press thing is a big thing.
Yeah.
That is part of the job, unfortunately. And then, of course, if you have more weight to yourself, you can maybe determine how much or how little you'll do.
Yeah, I mean, like I think Lewis does very little these days.
Max also. Fernando does also less.
I mean, Max is not even part in DTS anymore.
Well, neither is Fernando and neither is Lewis, I think.
Which is
for
fair.
this year. Which I'm like, I get it. You don't have to do it.
I mean, I've never seen an episode of DTS.
Yeah, I know you
don't
don't.
think I'm missing out on that.
Yeah. Especially now when we're having so much fun on the actual race weekends. You don't need all this artificial drama that Netflix kind of creates.
Yeah, I've seen like an edit of, I think, of the newest season where someone was pointing out, it's like, so it was a clip of Max in the podium, and it's him in the drivers in the cool down room. But it was essentially, they made it all seem this was all one race, but it was different races, and like how they edit, and like this is all not news, but I'm like also like, why as someone who's actively following the season, why would I go back a year later and watch all of this again and would just like a hyper sensationalized version of like this is not something I'm interested in.
Fair.
Content that I'm interested in consuming. I get that there's a huge market for that. It's just not me, and it's never gonna be me.
Yes.
I think even when like MotoGP is gonna get their own version of that, which I think is just a matter of time.
Oh, 100%.
With like Liberty Media owning them, right?
Yeah. I know I would for sure watch the first season, how I did for the first season of F1 Academy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'll go beyond it, because I did watch DTS, but only to kind of catch up to actually watching live races again.
Yeah.
But anyways, I feel like we
got super off track.
But who cares?
Yeah.
So I mean, Kimi won. absolutely incredible. Also, I love, we had talked about it briefly, how emotional he got about
Yes.
it. How, because you could just see how much it meant to him or
Yes.
means to him, which I
Yes.
understand. I mean, I don't understand it fully, but
Yeah.
I have an understanding
Yeah.
of it. Like you've been working towards this your whole life. It's your dream. It's your dad's dream.
Yeah.
It's your family's dream. So it's like huge. And to be able to do this in your second season as
Yeah.
a 19-year-old, 26 races under his belt.
Yeah, this was his 26th race start.
Yeah. So it's like absolutely incredible. So for
Yeah.
him to get emotional, I think it's 100% justified. I think it's actually beautiful that he did have these emotions. Like obviously he was trying to hide the emotions a little bit, but I think
like,
it's,
hey.
I don't think you have to, because I think
No.
it's beautiful.
But I think it's also natural if you're like in front of like thousands, literally
Well,
thousands of
that,
people.
and you're also a guy.
But
and
it's
like,
just in general, if you're being interviewed and you like can't hold it together, of course you're gonna be like,
No, of
I don't,
course.
I don't think that's a.
But it was so beautiful, and also I loved the relationship also between like Lewis and Kimmy, like that he's so supportive of him. I mean, why wouldn't he be? But it's just really nice, and he's like, yes, of course he took my seat, or he got my seat, whatever it is. But he was very happy for him, also very happy for Mercedes, and also Toto talking about that all three of his drivers ended up on the podium.
That was a very sweet
Which was
moment.
really sweet. I mean, because Kimmy came in first, second George, and then Lewis got his first Ferrari main race podium.
Yeah, so his reaction was, I think, after that
The
whole
sprint.
total. I think that was actually after the qualifying session.
Oh, you're actually right. Yes, absolutely. 'Cause, yeah.
But it was also beautiful that Kimmy's dad was there.
Yes.
It was good because, like in Australia, none of his family
Yeah.
was there, so it was good that it was this race.
Yes.
So he had someone there with him because
Yeah.
obviously you want that to share that with your family. And this was like, I really enjoyed it. I know that a lot of people are super critical of the new regulations, but so far I've enjoyed both races. I think this race was a lot more fun because there was also like something always happening. There was never like, I think the last race we had like Australia, like the second half of the race wasn't as interesting.
Yeah,
The first half was good.
Yeah, I mean, there was still battling happening, especially a little bit further back where people are a little bit more bunched together. But I thought it was so fun.
But I also thought that the broadcast was a little bit better this time around. They were a little bit more on top of it.
Yeah.
And but overall, yeah, I understand people's concerns, but I think right now we had like two great races, and I get that there's reliability, but I think that just comes with the sport.
Yeah.
It comes with it, and I think for now I'm happy. I hear people's frustration.
Yeah.
I think it is, I think we just have to see what will happen.
I feel like it's way too early to make a real call on whether or not this is.
As a viewer, as
Yeah.
a driver, this is obviously differently, but none of us really can judge this because
Yeah.
besides the drivers and the reserve drivers, probably no one else is
Yeah.
in those cars. But I'm enjoying it so far,
Yeah.
and I hope the season continues like this.
Same.
Once again, huge congratulations to Kimmy.
Yes.
Congratulations to George, of course, and I couldn't be more happy to see Lewis on his first podium in a
Yes.
main race for Ferrari.
Yes. First of many.
First of many, of course. I'm super excited. I can't wait for in 2 weeks. We have Japan.
Yes.
Suzuka is obviously a very different track. I think this one will be very interesting because last year is very much about who qualifies and poles wins it. That was Max had last year, that monster lap, and then he was able to just stay in the front and win that because
True.
overtaking is not the easiest on a track. I love Suzuka. I think it's a really fun track, but the cars are just quite big, I think. So we'll see how it goes with the new regulations, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
We get a week off and then we're back with it.
Yes. Very exciting.